I am my light as his heart as a feather. I am the God's rain upon us, blessings upon blessings upon blessings. Spartacus is absolutely one of my favorite shows of all time. It really inspired me to start acting again, to put myself in a form of a gladiator physically. I love the show. I love the story, the plot, the language, the fight scenes. Everything about that show is really, I can probably say, honestly say that is my favorite show of all time. And it ended as it should have because it is a real story. But the gods will see it fit that after 12 long years, Spartacus has returned in a form of House of Ashur. How about this? We got the Spartacus multiverse before GTA 6. So Spartacus has returned with the House of Ashur, and it is a what if scenario. What if Ashur did not die on Mount Vesuvius? What if he's seen another path? What if he got exactly what he wanted? What if he became a Lanista and became the dominant of his own house? And that is how we get to the House of Ashur. And listen, everything that you love from the original Spartacus series, the language, the fight scenes, the sex, the drama, the the beautiful acting, the language, it is there in the House of Ashur. The House of Ashur 2 episode premiere did not disappoint at all. It is everything that you want from the Spartacus world. It is there, and it's just telling a new story. This is wonderful. So the first episode is called Dominus, and they give you a recap, if you will, of what happened originally to Asher. He got his head chopped off at Mount Vesuvius, and they show him in the underworld. And of course, who pops up in the underworld? Listen, anytime that you get a chance to use Lucy Lawless, you use Lucy Lawless. So look, so she reprised her role as Lucretia, and she set up basically the premise of what would be the House of Ashur, saying to him, you are a traitor, a villain, you are a gladiator for but the briefest of times. You're cunning, your cunning and wittiness helped you, placed you besides my husband, and then you turned on your own brothers. You helped Rome, and you met your deserved end to Spartacus. But she said, but the fate, the gods hold many different paths, and maybe the gods have another path for you. And she outlined another path where you didn't die on Mount Vesuvius, and you went to help Glaber, who fell, but then you went on to align yourself with Crassus and Julius Caesar to ultimately take down Spartacus. And which is what is another cool twist in this timeline is, if you remember, in Spartacus, he died by a spear to the back. It was just a random Roman soldier. In this universe, it is actually Ashur who throws that last spear that kills Spartacus. So with that, he is granted patronage as he always wanted. He's granted patronage by Marcus Crassus, the richest man in the Republic at the time, according to him. And with that, that is basically how we get to the House of Ashur. And we wake up and he's in the bed. He has his 2 women with him, and we're off to the races. It's amazing. And what I really like about this show, obviously, it's called Spartacus House of Ashur, but even though Spartacus is dead, the spirit of Spartacus is still alive in the sense that the gladiator, you have some gladiators talking about rebellion, because at the end of the day, yes, they're gladiators, get revered and riches and all that, but they're still slaves. They are slaves at the end of the day. And another point that I really liked in this show is, we're skipping ahead just a little bit. She is a main character in the show, a woman named Aquila, and which women did fight in the arena. They usually fought against each other. It seems like the positioning in this show that Aquila is going to fight against the men in it. He takes her in, and he takes her in, and is very reminiscent of how Crixus met Batiatus, how he seen Batiatus and then he got his attention. That wasn't her intent at all, but that's just the circumstances. You see how these things kind of overlay. And he's basically telling her, actually has like a knife to his throat, right? He's telling her, like, she's saying to him, I will not be a slave to you or anything like that. And he's saying, like, everybody is a slave. Even me as a free man, if you need coin, then you're still a slave. If you to gain favor in those of higher position, everybody is still a slave. And I like how they play with that dynamic. Even though Ashur went from being a literal slave to being a gladiator to being Batiatus's right hand man, and now he's the Lanista of his own house. He still has to deal with those politics, and we've seen how Batiatus had to deal with those politics. So I really like Ashur's approach, and he has a completely different. I'm pretty sure he has a different approach from any other Lanista. I don't think any other Lanista went from being a slave to a gladiator to being said Lanista. So he has a different approach, a more grounded approach. He often speaks about tradition in a sense of fuck tradition. That like tradition is for the mediocre. It's a way for people to just stay in place. But if you want to rise in this world, in this very ambitious world, then you got to say fuck tradition, flip tradition on its head, and things like that. So obviously they're in a small arena because Spartacus and the rebels burned down the old arena. They never gave an exact uh, time reference, but it's a very safe assumption that the House of Ashur takes place maybe 3 months after the events of War of the Damned, after the last episode of Spartacus. And what's also really cool about this is that yes, Spartacus is physically dead in this world. The spirit of Spartacus is still very much alive, particularly with this gladiator named Logos. Yeah, named Logos, who really they do. Oh, and I love like the tradition, like we were speaking about tradition, right? And of course, and on the sands, the doctori, whoever it is, it asks what lies beneath your feet, and you say sacred ground, walk to the tears of blood, and uh, Ashur had asked the recruits what lies beneath your feet, and Logos had started to say that, and he's like, no, 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 like that. This is an opportunity lies beneath your feet. Coin lies beneath your feet. So I love how they just taking the traditional kind of Spartacus tropes and just turning on his head and just letting you know that we're in the Spartacus world, but we're set on a whole another grand and ambitious path. Now, as I said, Asher is a very hands-on dominant. So he's addressing the men, and one of the men, he Asher is essentially boasting about how it was his hands that yielded the spear to bring down the rebel Spartacus. And one of the recruits kind of snickered at it and said, "Well, I heard a rumor that you threw the spear to his back." I mean, he did, but being the hands-on dominance that Asher is, he said, "Oh, so you don't think this position is earned? You think this position was just given? That I am not deserving of said position?" So of course he said to line up, and they did not practice with wood. They brought out the steel, and he gave the other gladiator the steel. And the only thing that Asher had in his hand was a vase of wine, and he's giving a lesson to gladiators, swinging at him, and he's telling them size gives way to experience and maturity. And so the guy he's trying to get Asher, and he misses, and the only thing he ends up hitting is Asher's vase of wine, and which is fallopian, which is a really good wine in that time. So Asher, of course, gets pissed off, and we think he's gonna punch him in the face, maybe cut him, humble him, bring him down to a knee. No, Asher kills him. Yeah, in front of everybody. He kills it unknowingly, which we'll find out later in the episode. He actually ends up killing one of his best gladiators. But yeah, I mean, if that's one of his best gladiators, Asher killed that man with no sword and and he only did it because he got pissed off because he spilled his wine. So, that was his best gladiator. But I think as the season moves on, we'll see that they're better gladiators. So Halara, the head of the woman, I think they call it I forget the name of it, but she's not the dominant of the house, but she runs the other woman. She's head of she makes sure all the linen is clean, the wine is there. She's his assistant and his lover at the same time. You know how they give it up, and you know how they give it up there. So what I really like about her is, again, they flip tradition. He very much treats her like Crassus treated one of his slaves. So what's going on historically right now in Spartacus is Crassus and Pompey are actually at odds right now. So that's going to be a theme playing out. That's going to be a plate spinning. I wonder if we're going to see Crassus in this world. We might. That will be interesting. So again, we speak. I think tradition is a theme of this. For I don't. I think it's one of the themes of this first episode because we enter the arena again, and of course, we're used to our traditional fights, and Ashur, very reminiscent to how Batiatus challenged Vedius in Gods of the Arena, and said they didn't fight on the street; fought at the they fought at the arena. And Ashur thought he was getting a fair shot. For the first time in history, the house of Ashur will take to the sands. Little did he know the Romans that are Senator. It's not Senator Albinius. It's Senator Gibeus and Coletta. They are really doing it in jest. So they're doing it in jest, but it needs to be taken serious, right? So they have these three dwarfs, the brother Ferox, right? There's three of them. The three tiny people, and of course everybody's arrogant. Oh, they're tiny. They're half a man. Da, 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 da. Man, them little dudes get down. Okay, you sleep on them if you want, and you'll be laid to slumber forever, as one of the gladiators oh so effortlessly found out. Yes, yeah, those three mini gladiators killed Logos, who really had that rebellious nature in it earlier. Previous to give context, they had a contest amongst the men to see who would fight at the games, and Logos won. He really had that rebellious Spartacus spirit. Didn't really respect Ashur because of all the things he heard. Ashur turned on his brotherhood, and Ashur has done questionable things. A thing that he admits himself. Ashur is very self-aware, so we can never ever take that away from Ashur. Ashur is very self-aware. So, but with that being said, towards the end of this episode, at this point, Ashur has been, it was a jest. So of course he showed up to the after party later, and everybody's kind of laughing at him. The three small gladiators are just saying this is the house of asses. So him and his Dectori go on to, which we've seen in the original Spartacus series, go to Nepal. They go to other parts to find gladiators, and very reminiscent to how, now it wasn't the same intent, but it very much mirrored itself. When Crixus seen Batiatus in a marketplace, he purposely attacked the guard and fought, and they were going to kill him. Batiatus seen the ambitions in his eyes, the fire in his heart, and Crixus goes on to be who he is. This wasn't necessarily Neferit's intent. She was just really trying to get away. Like, she was just like, I'm not with the shits. I'm not going to be a slave. Start popping on them. Boom, 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 running away. Ashur sees it, seeing her fight, seeing this very dark skinned woman fight. And it's not even about skin color. I'm just giving, for people that may have not seen it, I'm just giving you context, because at the time they didn't really look at it. Wasn't really about skin color. It was more about your breeding, your heritage. Especially being a Roman. Are you Roman? Don't matter if you're what color your skin is, because please believe me, please. There were lots of Romans that look like me. And so he grabs her, he brings her in. The Romans are like, because she didn't beat up a couple of them. One of the Roman guards is trying to say, "Hey, I want to take her life," and he's like, "Hold up, no, this is I am a man. I am Marcus Licinius Crassus, man in Capua," and then they give him respect, and that's when you find out even further that they're on a brink of civil war in Rome right now, with Pompey and Crassus about to go head to head. But those guards, I say all that to say that those guards said, "Hey, I pledge, if time comes and necessary, I'll stand by your side, because you're a man of Crassus," which I think is an important plate that's going to spin. So that's why I keep bringing that up. I'm pretty sure that's going to play out somehow, because we've already seen in the previews that Caesar shows up to the house of Ashur. So we're going to see these things. I think we might get a Crassus cameo. Who knows? I would love to see Crassus. Shout out shout out to Crassus, shout out to shout out to Simon Merle, excuse me. I actually interviewed him in one of my first interviews back all the way in 2020 when I first started the Richie Moon show. Yes, I actually interviewed Marcus Licinius Crassus, the richest man in all the Republic. Great interview. Go tap into it. So anyway, back he brings her in, and this is a really interesting scene. I really like this because we talk about tradition a lot. That's why I feel like was one of the themes of this episode. I feel like it's gonna be one of the themes of this entire series, the tradition. And what we're used to seeing from the Spartacus universe and them taking that and kind of flipping it on its head. So he brings a kid. He first off, this is very reminiscent to when Batiatus first seen Spartacus fight in the arena. They didn't have a name for him because Spartacus's real name was lost to history. So being quick-minded as Batiatus says, this is he was from Thrace. There was an old king from Thrace called Spartacus, so he gave Spartacus that name. That's how he got that name. Nefert was her original name, but he knew the Romans. Actually, Doctorius said that they wouldn't take too kind to her name, so they changed it to Achillea, the goddess of death. And that, like I said, that's very akin to that scene with Spartacus. But anyway, he offers her a drink. She smashes it across his face, and she's behind Ashur, like with the shards of the wine pot, about to cut his throat. But in that, she's saying to him, "I will not be a slave to a man like you. I'm not gonna be a slave. I'm not gonna be a slave." That was her main point. I'm not gonna be a slave. And he's saying, "All of us are slaves. Even me as a free man, like those above my station, like I still have to like bow to them essentially. So none of us are free." Until we get to that quote unquote ultimate status. All of us are bound. All of us have to bow and scrape to somebody. So I really like how that was a point in it. And if anybody's going to understand, Ash is going to understand going from a slave to a gladiator to being the Lanista of his own house. And it really sets up Achillea like she's going to be the main focus because after the loss to the brothers of Ferox, he did broach for another appearance at the games, but they're like, "Oh, we've seen you." One of the other Lanistas was just like, "Bro, we didn't see you." Proculus from the House of Opiter, he's definitely like he's shitting on Ashur, like, "Bro, beat it." Nobody likes, and the point of him saying that to her was, and this is an overall team. Even though he has gained his status, he went from, I'm gonna keep saying this because I just think it's really cool. He went from a slave to a gladiator to a Lanista of his own house. The Romans, we know how the Romans look at other people that are not Romans. It does not matter what you've accomplished, you're not Roman. So you're always beneath us. And they never let Ashur forget that he used to be a slave or, that you are beneath us. They very much look down on him. They are very much, pointing their noses up and looking down at Ashur. They never ever forget them. That's just gonna burn a fire within Ashur. He's used to dealing with Batiatus, who, you offended Batiatus in such a way, the payment is blood. And he actually spoke on that because of how one of the upper ranks in Roman and Romans spoke to him. He said, usually I'll be paid in blood. But Ashur has to take a different approach. He has to take a different approach as he travels these very murky waters. As I said, this first episode really establishes we are in the Spartacus universe, but we are taking a different path. It's a different story, but it's the same. It's the same fighting, sex scenes, the language, the dialogue, the plot is still sharp. It is as sharp as ever. It is everything that you loved about the original Spartacus series, and now it's just telling a new story. So, like I said, it was a 2-night premiere, and the next episode is called Forsaken. All the men are in the square and they're training, and they immediately stop because Achillea walks out, and they're very taken back. During this time, like I said, Ashur has been granted patronage from Crassus. Now, at first, I'm pretty sure that pot was overflowing and was lucrative, but now those those ends, those means, especially with Crassus' mind. He's about, he's dealing with the politics in Rome, and he's dealing with a civil war problem, maybe about to pop off against Pompey. So he's not really thinking about Ashur and what's going on. Thanks for helping me, but right, you got your coins, whatever. Like, you're a Lanista, and you're not Roman. You're not Roman, and that is like I said, they're going to keep reminding Ashur, you're not Roman, so you're always beneath us anyway. He finally gets a message from Rome. He's very excited. Heart is lifted, but is not from Crassus, it is from Caesar. Man, Caesar. So Caesar sends Ashur to go to Appian Way, and Appian Way is from Appian Way all the way to Capua. After Crassus defeated the rebels, he hung, I mean, as you see in Spartacus, he put them all on the cross. Now, like I said, I think this is, a month later, 3 months, whatever the case is, they are now tasked with taking the men from off of Appia Way and putting them in the carts and taking them down, because these are rotting bodies out there. So there's all, these are miles of rotting bodies. So this, oh gosh, the smell. Oh, the smell. You haven't even considered the smell, you bitch. For all my Sunny fans out there. It's like, oh my gosh, the smell. You haven't even considered the smell. And of course, during this time, of course, his rival Lanista Procleus pops up on the road and all that. What I really liked about this scene, and I'm pretty sure they did this as a tribute, we all remember that Gannicus died on that road, as many of our favorite rebels did. And he has his tattoo, and the Ductori, who said that, hey, I actually met Gannicus after he won his freedom, before he aligned himself with Spartacus. He described Gannicus as a drunken, like essentially a loud, drunken, disagreeable man. He was just like, well, but I kind of like them. So, just more allure to Gannicus's story. And I really appreciated how Ductori, he has a great respect for the gladiators. He even said, it's very similar to what Oenomaus said when Spartacus had seen Varro die, and he was looking at his body. It weighs the heart heavy to see so many with heart beating and chest now stilled. Because, like I said, this is miles of men, gladiator, on being crucified. And he recognizes Gannicus, and he really pays Gannicus respect. This was a god of the arena at one time. So I love the fact that they really have that. They really have that respect for their brothers. But yeah, so back onto the story. Ashur needs new offerings for the arena, so he is really placing his stock on Achillea. A woman gladiator that's coming out. And I mean, of course, in Roman times they interacted with the Egyptians and that, but it's just like a woman, a very dark of skin woman, clearly Egyptian descent. But I'm just saying that based off her name. It could be something completely different. I don't know, but yeah, so like she's a novelty. She's an exotic treat, as Ashur so eloquently states. And Cassetta, a Roman woman who was like undoubtedly going to be like a big part of this. Ashur is invited over to Senator Gibeus' house and to have a word with him, to talk, to break bread with him. And he's definitely not interviewing. He's picking Ashur's brain. He's saying like, "What are you about?" And this is, he speaks to what becomes of a man that goes from a slave to a gladiator to Lanista of his own house. What happens when your dreams come forward so fast, and how does that weigh the shoulders and the heart? So it was a lot of classic. It was a lot of classism, philosophical tennis there, because, like I said, they still treat. He has the status, but they never let Ashur forget. And even with Batiatus, who was a full blood Roman, all that, it's all about status. Yeah, you're a Roman, but you're a Lanista. So you're a Syrian and used to be a slave. Now you're a Lanista, so they don't really show him that respect. But Vidra, I hope I'm saying this name. I don't think I'm saying the name right, but their daughter came out, and she. It seemed like these two. That's clearly going to be a plot point in this. That those two immediately seem like they were smitten for each other. Her heart is very much grieving because her husband went out against Spartacus and he died, and he died. So her heart is she's very grief stricken right now, to a point like her mother, like Lisa, she was mad at her, like, oh, don't speak to the Syrian as if he's on our as if he is on our level, as he is as if he is worth, because she came over there and are these the hands that brought the rebel Spartacus to an end? She's very those two, like I said, that's gonna be a plot point moving forward. Uh you can clearly see that Asher is submitting. His heart jumped for the heavens when he seen her. So we'll see how that plays out. Uh, so, after the loss, the men, the laurels are kind of low. Their pride, they're so they lost to a jest of a fight in the arena, and then now there's a woman amongst their ranks. So the men are just not feeling. They're not feeling good. Some of them really don't even respect Asher. So there's a lot of division. Doctori emphasizes, well, a great way to bring people together is wine and whores. So Asher awards the men with wine and whores. Achilea is upset that she cannot participate with the wine and whores, but she did not earn the mark of the brotherhood yet. So Doctori tells her to retire to herself. Of course, she doesn't listen because she's a rebel. She's out on the pallets with her swords. Um, Epheus and another gladiator, I can't remember his name. He'll be infamous in my mind now. No, uh, he they see her out there. Of course they're giving her a hard time. Why would they not? Why would they not? And he's basically saying, like, why don't you take on a bigger challenge? And like he's humping the air, obviously insinuating. And she's like, no, I'll take on a larger challenge. They're all drunk. He boom, he pops on her. So of course the fight breaks out. So it's her versus two of the gladiators. And at this point they get it down and they're about to rape her. Now, they take her cloth off, about to rape her, got her bent over, and she kicks him in the dick and then gets the advantage and literally rips his dick off. Yeah, rips his dick off. And then obviously there's a lot of noise that the men come out, like, what's going on? Medicus is out there, and everybody wants to be like, why did you literally rip this man's cock off? And she explains, and they're not trying to hear that. They don't care. They don't care. So Victoria is just like, and she's saying, I don't care what my status is. I don't care if I'm a man, woman, what your title is, what your position is. I am equal. I didn't ask to be here, but y'all are going to treat me as such. You're going to treat me equal. And obviously, there's a ranking system there. So Victoria's like, oh, that's what you think? You think you've earned? You think you've earned your stay amongst us? You think you've earned the mark of the brotherhood? So they pick up the swords. Of course, not wood. They pick up the steel. And of course, he's giving her the business. Boom, 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 boom. He gets her to the edge of the cliff, and he is about to kill her. And right before he kills her, blood drips down from his face. And he stops. And he says, no, I'm mistaken. You are worthy of living. You are worthy of dying in the arena. And he stopped that because he said that all the men are questioning, oh, she killed one of our brothers. Why are you allowing her to live? And his response was, she has done something that none of you have managed to do. During a fight, somewhere during the fight, she sliced him on his face. Even though it was a small scratch, she drew blood. And he said, none of you have managed to do this. Offers his hands out, grabs her up. And that's how the episode kind of essentially ends. And now that she has gained respect of the Doctori, and I think in a sense she's now starting to gain the respect of the men, that she is, Achilea is nothing to be messed with. If you try to come at her the wrong way, and Doctori also said, if any of you try to touch her in an undesirable way, you will meet the same fate as Mans did right here. So Doctori is on her side, and I think once the story, now that she's gained Doctori's confidence, she already has Asher's confidence. Pretty sure she's going to begrudgingly start to win the other brothers respect and confidence over, and it's going to get rocking and rolling. Like I said, the language, the fight scenes, the sex scenes, the plot, the dialogue, the scenery. We're in 2025 technology. The budget. You know, it's amazing. Everything that you want from, if you imagine Spartacus continuing or having a spinoff, everything that you could have imagined in that, it is in this show. You will absolutely not be disappointed. I love this show. It's really, it's got me. It's got me back on my monologues. It's got me, I just got some new headshots. I'm about to start auditioning. Say, who knows? I'm speaking it into the future right now because I said this years ago. I said, if Spartacus ever comes back, I will fully go back into acting and like really, you know, I'm, I will give it, I will put my best foot forward. And prophecy is fulfilled. We are here. The time is now. There's no better time than now. Matter of fact, be here now, as our good brother Andy said, the champion on screen on our hearts. And with that being said, I will be back next Saturn day for the third episode of Spartacus House of Ashur. I absolutely love this show. I love the actors. I love the dialogues. I love the fight scenes. It's just amazing. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. I am over the moon that this show is back, and I will be here with reviews, thoughts, feedbacks on it, and we're here. With that being said, I can do this all day. You can find me here at YouTube land. Like, share, and subscribe. You can find me in that podcast world, The Richie Moon Show. I got them vlogs popping. And with that being said, peace, love, and light.